Special Envoy Hans Granberg calls on warring parties to expand the truce. The 8th-year war leaves millions of Yemeni children without education. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Tasneem Qandil. Yemenis celebrate the 59th anniversary of the 14th of October Revolution. This day is historically significant as it marks the end of a British colonial era in the country. The following report has more details.
The revolution of the 20th of September 1962 not only contributed to the overthrow of the Imamate rule, but also shook the throne of the British colonialists who had been crushing on the people of the south in Yemen for more than a century and a quarter of a century. Getting rid of Imamate tyranny and the British colonialism and the remnants came at the first goals of the September Revolution and didn't come by chance. The liberation process united the Houthis and united the Yemenis in the north and in the south. The conference, called by Field Marshal Abdullah Salal, the first president of the Arab Republic of Yemen, half a year after the outbreak of the September 26th revolution in Dar es Saada, confirmed the unity of the revolution through the participation of hundreds of people from the south, and resulted in the establishment of a preparatory committee headed by Qahtan al-Shabi. The task was to prepare a national charter to form a united front to liberate the occupied south of Yemen, in a clear rejection of the British occupation's efforts to separate the south from Yemen by declaring the so-called Union of Saudi Arabia, which tried to annex Iran protectorate to it. The National Charter clearly indicated the importance of the armed struggle in the south until gaining victory and independence. This was embodied by the return of the heroes participating in the defense of the September 26th revolution to their villages in the south, such as the hero Rajih Labouza and his companions. The spark of October 14th revolution in 1963 erupted from the mountains of Radfan, and the revolutionaries drew the most magnificent heroic epics, facing with their personal weapons and their just cause the heavily armed military arsenal of the British colonialists, who had gone mad at the bravery of the revolutionaries. They unleashed their air force in a scorched earth attack in the villages of Lahaj and Adala. In face of the brutality of the occupation, the revolutionaries in the north and in the south made a pledge to themselves of victory due to the sacrifices of Labouza and his comrades. The Republican regime in the north was nothing but supporting the revolutionaries in the south with money, weapons, and opening camps in Taiz and Sana'a for training. They also supplied them with fighters and ammunitions to expand the area of confrontations with the British occupation authorities until they surprised them in the heart of the city of Aden, and they couldn't contain the revolution. 4 years of struggle against the British colonialists made them to admit defeat, marking the evacuation of the last British soldiers on the 30th of November 1967.
Senior military officials from the front line celebrate the 14th of October Revolution, assuring that they will keep the goals of the revolution, protecting the country from any internal or external attacks.
September and October revolutions are among the greatest revolutions in the Arab world, and they are alive in our hearts. The revolutions are considered parallel because the support was reciprocal between the heroes of the two revolutions. The 14th of October revolution was the first spark against the British colonial, which was the most powerful army at that time. The rebels' struggle continued until the last British colonist left Yemen in 13 November. So it's a great revolution in our hearts.
بالتهنئة إلى قيادتنا السياسية
We
والعسكرية.
congratulate our popular and military leadership on the occasion of the 59th anniversary of the 14th of October Revolution. The revolution that liberated the country from the colonists after more than 100 years of occupation. And as border guards, we affirm that we are ready for the final battle against the Houthi militia.
Taiz University held an artistic celebration to celebrate the 59th anniversary of the eternal 14th of October Revolution. The celebrations, which are held in Taiz, come in appreciation of the heroic roles of struggle and the great sacrifices and unity in the glorious September and October revolutions. At the ceremony, which was attended by the leadership of the local authority, the leadership of the university, and many political, military, and civil figures, a number of poems, national and lyrical cocktail about the glorious October Revolution were delivered.
Now we are in Taiz celebrating September and October revolutions, and our main goal is to show the effect of these revolutions on the educational process and strengthening the national loyalty.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia stressed the need for the UN Security Council to classify the Houthi militia as a terrorist group, for its rejection of all proposed efforts to bring peace in Yemen. This came in the Kingdom's speech during the UN Security Council session held today on the situation in Yemen, delivered by the permanent representative of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to the United Nations, Ambassador Dr. Abdulaziz Mohammed Al-Wasil. In his speech, Al-Wasil stressed that the Kingdom will continue to support international efforts to bring peace to Yemen, repeating its right to defend itself if the Houthi militia attacks its land again, and they will spare no effort to deter these hostile behaviors against them. Special Envoy Hans Grunberg has called on the warring parties to engage with his proposal to expand the truce. Grunberg's call came during this briefing before the UN Security Council yesterday. More on this story within this report.
The United Nations Special Envoy for Yemen blamed Houthi rebels on Thursday for the failure to prolong a 6-month-old truce and urged the warring parties to show leadership, compromise, and flexibility. Hans Grunberg encouraged them to rapidly renew and expand the ceasefire agreement that has provided Yemen with its longest period of peace since its civil war began in 2014. Grunberg informed the United Nations Security Council that following recent discussions with regional partners in Abu Dhabi and Muscat, he personally feels there is a possibility for the parties to reach an agreement. Yemen's government and the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels agreed to a 2-month truce on April 2nd, which was extended twice until October 2nd. The inability to renew it, according to Grunberg, has created significant uncertainty for the country and raised the threat of war. Grunberg stated that the government engaged positively with the final outline of its truce proposal, but the Houthis came up with additional demands that could not be met. Gradual opening of roads in the Houthi-blockaded city of Taiz, a commitment to release detainees as soon as possible, and the establishment of structures to begin negotiations towards a ceasefire and an end to the conflict. Grunberg praised both sides' restraint after the truce's expiration, stating there has been no substantial military escalation, merely sporadic exchanges of artillery and small arms fire in frontline locations in Taiz, Ma'rib, Hodeidah, and Daghla. He said that the truce's accomplishments should not be underestimated, citing a 60% decrease in casualties, 56 commercial flights carrying nearly 27,000 passengers, and a 3-fold increase in fuel products delivered to Hodeidah ports by 2021. In addition, parties to the conflict were able to hold interpersonal meetings under UN auspices to discuss military de-escalation and road openings in Taiz and other governorates. Yemen has been gripped by civil conflict since 2014, when the Houthis captured Sana'a and parts of the country's north, pushing the government into exile. In recent years, the conflict has spawned one of the world's biggest humanitarian crises while also serving as a regional proxy war. More than 150,000 individuals, including approximately 14,500 civilians, have died.
Yesterday, suspicious movements of the terrorist Houthi militia were observed on a number of the fronts in the northwestern axis of Al-Dala governorate. According to Khabar agency, local sources stated that on separate occasions, on Thursday, an active movement of civilian and military vehicles belonging to the Houthi militia was seen, moving between Bab Khalq and Al-Jab fronts, on the northern side of Al-Fakhr sector west of Qataba. Moreover, the sources stated that the vehicles were loaded with Houthi elements and covered boxes, believed to contain military equipment. The terrorist Houthi militia continues to isolate the residents of Sa'ada governorate and restrict them with barbaric practices in an effort to bring them back to what was before the revolution of September 26. Local sources said that the Houthi militia continued to cut off the 4G communications in the district of Sa'ada a week ago, less than a month after the launch of service in the governorate by the Yemen Mobile Company under its management, adding that the militia was not satisfied with that. Yesterday evening, the terrorist Houthi militia killed a citizen in front of his house and kidnapped his son in Sarf village of Bani Hashish district, which is under its control. Local sources in Sana'a said that the Houthi militia executed the citizen Bakil Ayed with cold blood in front of his house and the side of his family. They also kidnapped his 10-year-old son and took him to an unknown destination. The Houthi militia added another crime to its series of crimes against humanity by targeting workers from the people of Hais while they were working on paving a secondary road to ease the burdens on the people of the village. Local sources reported that the Iranian-backed Houthi militia snipers targeted a secondary road in the village of Al-Batna south of Hais, wounding the worker Abdul Jalil Ahmed. The snipers of the militia penetrate his body and citizens rushed to him to Hais hospital to receive first aid. The 8-year conflict caused crisis in education. Most of the infrastructure of the educational institution has been damaged by the war. This came as a result in pushing millions of children out of school. This report has more on this.
Yemen is experiencing an education crisis after nearly 8 years of armed conflict. Over 2 million children are not in school, and many more are growing up with limited access to education. Given the significance of education in aiding Yemen's post-conflict recovery, these lost years will have a negative impact on the educational system on the long term. Children in Yemen are experiencing learning disruption. According to UNICEF, over 2 million children are not attending school, over 4 million require assistance in obtaining an education, and more than 20% of all primary and secondary schools are closed. School staff and students have been killed or injured while they were on their way to school, in addition to a lack of payment which made thousands of teachers look for other jobs to survive life. The danger and economic impact of the conflict has forced thousands of families to stop sending their children to school. Yemen's schools have not been spared in the country's prolonged conflict. At least 1 out of every 4 educational facilities has been destroyed, damaged, or used for non-educational purposes in the last 8 years. Violence against students, teachers, and schools or universities has long-term consequences. Children who do not finish their education are trapped in a self-perpetuating cycle of poverty. If out-of-school children or those who have dropped out recently are not properly supported, they may never return to school. Offering safe access to education can alleviate the psychological impact of violence by giving children a sense of a routine and giving them a bright future through education.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. Yemenis everywhere mark the 59th anniversary of October Revolution. Special envoy Hans Grumber calls on warring parties to expand the truce. The 8-year war leaves millions of Yemeni children without education. This is the end of the news. It was Tasneem Qandil. Thank you for watching.